All right, check the mic after dark. Very special check the mic. Coming to you live from Circa Sportsbook. We are all just sitting here watching the Bengals get the win, 19-17 over the Steelers. They're one step closer to maybe sneaking into the playoffs, Sam.
Yeah, kept alive. That's all they could do, right? They need a lot of help. They still need a lot of help, but part of the step was getting that win against Pittsburgh. It almost fell apart for them, but it didn't. They got their W. They stayed alive. They did what they needed to do.
19-17 felt like the Bengals were in control for much of this game. They were moving the ball. It felt early on like they gave the ball to Joe Burrow and said, hey, go win this game. I mean, Khalil Herbert ended up with 20 carries, but right. Burrow, 46 pass attempts, goes 37 of 46 for 277, straight drop back pass game. Go win it, Joe Burrow. And they were moving the ball but struggled in the red zone.
Yeah, they screwed up a couple of possessions. You know, they got into good field position 5 or 6 times in the first half, but kept coming up short, had to settle for a couple of field goals. It's a 6-point game at halftime, and it's like those are the types of games that, you know, they can slip away from you really quickly. And we said before, right, how quickly these games can get away from you. It takes 2 drives, right? One, Pittsburgh finally catches something. They get a touchdown drive. They get their score. The very next drive, 3 and out. All of a sudden, it's a game again, and then you get that weird punt return or, special teams goof by Cincinnati to really make it a game.
There was some really, when you go back as a Steelers fan or as a Bengals fan, really high leverage plays in this game. End of the first half.
Yeah.
Mike Tomlin goes for it on 4th and 1, gets stopped, essentially putting the Bengals in field goal range. They get a field goal before the end of the half, so that's a free 3. The punt, Cincinnati, ball goes off their foot. Pittsburgh recovers. And then they traded in fumbles and interceptions, basically. So there was a lot of high leverage plays that ended up evening out, I think, here.
Right.
But I think if you're a Steelers fan, the Tomlin decision, not even the decision, they had 2nd and 1 and could not convert 1 yard at the end of the half, and that cost them 3.
And ultimately, you want to sum up the entire game like Tomlin said it, right? If you get 3 shots and you can't pick up a yard, you don't deserve to win the game. And that's really, you sum it all up, that's what it is. Pittsburgh couldn't get that 1 yard when they needed it. The second attempt, the Russell Wilson sneak, it was open. They should have had that. For some reason, he just sort of hit the turf early. And then the final attempt, we thought he had it, but it turns out he hit the ground before riding the body for the extra half yard that he needed to get that first down. So that sequence was the difference.
So let's reset where we are right now. From a Cincinnati perspective, 5th straight win. They moved to 9-8. Remember, they were 4-8 at one point, needed all sorts of help. And over the last 2 weeks in particular, there was about 8 things that needed to happen. We've got 6 down, 2 to go.
Right.
The last 2 things now, and not, just to set the whole stage here.
Miami's got to lose.
Yes.
That's doable.
Miami against the Jets tomorrow.
Right.
And the Broncos need to lose to the Chiefs.
Yeah. No. The Broncos need to lose to the Chiefs' backups. That's the problem.
Chiefs' backups, yes. So Carson Wentz and backup friends, those 2 games are going to be in the 4 o'clock window, so they're not going to know. Like, they'll be head-to-head, right? Games that are dependent upon each other. For Pittsburgh, 4 straight losses heading into the playoffs. They're 10-7, right? And just 4 or 5 weeks ago, we were saying, hey, this is a different Pittsburgh team. Feels like a team that can do damage in the playoffs. Now it feels like a team that could be one and done pretty quickly. They are locked in as the 6th seed now going to Baltimore next week.
Yeah, and they've had a couple of games where they've kind of looked like contenders versus pretenders, and looked a clear step below the class in the AFC. But this might be the most damaging, where you've got a team like Cincinnati scrapping just to get into the playoffs, just to make, stay alive. And they end up looking like a significantly better team for the majority of that game. Obviously, they made it close at the end. Freiermuth drops the ball. They were theoretically driving with a chance to win. But I think overall that game, Cincinnati looked notably better. And they're probably not even going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I was talking about the decisions that might haunt Pittsburgh fans, but how about the actual plays? They have George Pickens on a double move on that last drive.
Right.
Timing was just a little bit off, but he was open. And then Freiermuth is open. Russell Wilson hits him. Like, Wilson was very inconsistent in this game. Hits Freiermuth on 4th and 12 in stride. That dude's usually shorthanded. He's been their best receiver, 8 catches, 85 yards all day, and the touchdown.
Right.
Drops it. They would have had a chance to get on the ball, spike it, and maybe have a game-ending field goal attempt. So this is a good test. Every year we debate this, Sam. Does it matter how you go into the playoffs?
Right.
Hot, not. Last year was a very distinct not for a team like the Philadelphia Eagles. It's where the Steelers are right now. And not just not hot, but not hot against all playoff teams here down the stretch.
Yeah, and going against a team that is very hot going into the playoffs. I do wonder, so do you think that it's good for them to face a division rival in the postseason? Like, it's one thing going in sort of stumbling, you're not, you're sort of falling apart, you don't look good, and then you have to go and travel and face a team that you don't know that well, as opposed to, all right, all those things remain true, but at least you're facing a team that you know inside and out is always, it could be a tight game any random time they play each other.
I don't think it's better than playing this version of the Texans.
Right.
Because that's what was at stake tonight.
Because they just don't look good.
Yes, because if they were the 5 seed, you go to Houston, I feel better about that game.
Right.
I do think Pittsburgh still matches up well against Baltimore, right? We've talked about that a lot in the previews, and they just played each other a couple weeks ago. It was a 7-point game going in the fourth quarter, and then Baltimore kind of pulled away at the end. But Pittsburgh was the team that slowed down. They gave Lamar Jackson his worst game of the season. They do seem to play him better. So I don't hate the matchup for Pittsburgh. I just hate the way they're playing, especially offensively the last few weeks.
Yeah, and especially Russell Wilson. Maybe the most concerning thing is, remember, Tomlin was kind of getting coach of the year talk because he makes that switch, right? He decides, look, we're going to go give the offense back to Russell Wilson. We're going to go away from Justin Fields. And it immediately made everything better. It raised the ceiling. It just made the team look better on offense. Suddenly, we've got like the Denver version of Russell Wilson the last few weeks where he just looks lost again. I mean, the play before the weird punt where it touches the Bengals player, like they forced him off the field. And on the 3rd and 1, like the Bengals were playing soft coverage on George Pickens. It was like a pitch and catch. You or I could have made that throw, picked up a key first down. Russell Wilson didn't even see it. Like, he wasn't even looking at that. So all of a sudden, Russell Wilson has started to look like the player that was like, getting run out of multiple cities, getting run out of offensive starting positions. I literally asked just before he runs the touchdown drive, like, how close are we to seeing if Justin Fields would spark this thing again?
That's good sports. Our friend in the chat here, he weighed in on this. He said Bo Nix wins that game. He said Bo Nix wins that game, of course, a diehard Broncos fan. He says Bo Nix is going to win that game, not the way Russ played.
Right.
I'm rethinking the what else we got from Sam's shirt. Fire. Yeah, show everybody the shirt.
The merch.
No shouty shows.
Show merch.
I could see it. I got everything. Oh, that's thank you Mark R for your comment in the chat. Thank you for tuning in wherever you're coming from. Thank you, Mark R. Sam's shirt is fire. We're having a ball, by the way, over here at Circa.
So before we get to the other game, what did you make of the whole game experience at the Circa Sportsbook?
It's outstanding. We only just got a taste of it today. We watched the 2 Island games. Shout out to our friends over at Circa, to Derek Stevens, to Aaron, to all of our friends over here. Set us up with a beautiful table, nice setup. The service is outstanding. And the setup's outstanding. 19 screens here. I did count and made sure. I did count.
Nice.
There's 8 up top, 8 down below, and 3 big screens in the middle. Lines on the side. Unbelievable setup to catch everything. Whoever's working the sound here does an outstanding job. When there's commercials, they hate commercials as much as the next person. They flip to the next game. They're doing a great job here at Circa. So I'm excited tomorrow to have the 8 games and then the 6 games, watching it all at once with a great atmosphere.
Yeah, we had just the Saturday show now. Tomorrow is where the big money's on the line. All their the contests that they've had running all season. That's when all the games are going to take place. Instead of college basketball and hockey and whatever else been on, we're going to have wall-to-wall NFL.
All football, yeah. I don't like having college basketball on when there's football. I don't like that distraction. But tomorrow's going to be great with all the football games, all the NFL all day long. So we're excited to be here all day at Circa tomorrow. Anything else on Bengals Steelers, though, to just put a bow on this? A wild finish for both seasons for Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. And if Cincinnati does sneak into the playoffs, it's against Buffalo, by the way.
Yeah.
It's in Buffalo. It'd be a 7-2 matchup.
Yeah, I mean, they came out of that game with a couple of injuries, right? T. Higgins got hurt, ankle injury, didn't come back in the game. Cody Ford was getting banged up multiple times. Came back in, though, and did play. So that would be a thing to monitor if they're relevant again after this, if they are still in the hunt. But they remain that team, right, that if they sneak in, nobody's happy about that.
Dangerous.
They are. They are very dangerous because of Joe Burrow. This game, Pittsburgh's defensive front, okay, it's not quite the same since T.J. Watt hurt his ankle, but generally speaking, like Tomlin's game plan was, turn those guys loose. They're going to beat the bad Bengals offensive line. That's going to be the difference. And the Bengals just said, Joe Burrow, all your receivers are going to be options. Get rid of the ball. Negate it. You negate that. Take it away, and it won't be a factor. And he basically did for the majority of the game.
The reason why Cincinnati is potentially dangerous, they've played Buffalo really well. Beat them in the divisional round a couple of years ago. They've played Kansas City well. Historically, we know that. Might not be the same defense, but we've seen flashes of Lou Anarumo's defense at least playing well here down the stretch in these cold weather games.
Cold weather games, that's the other thing, right? You're going to be going on the road to Buffalo. You win that game, you're going on the road somewhere else cold. Like all these cold weather games help defenses, which has been the Achilles heel.
If they were to beat Buffalo, they're locked in to play Kansas City the following week. So that's what the stretch would have to be. They'd have to go 2-seed Buffalo, 1-seed Kansas City.
Right, but okay, that's not great in terms of who you're facing. But my point being, all of the places they're going to have to go if they make the playoffs, if they stay in the playoffs, are cold weather, which help defensive performances. And the defense has been the thing holding this team back this year.
All right, let's talk about the first game. Ravens 35, Browns 10. The Ravens moved to 12-5. They needed to win this. They lock up the AFC North, so they locked up the 3 seed, as we said earlier. The Browns also locked something up, and that's a top 3 pick. They cannot pick worse than 3rd in the draft, and they're rooting for the Patriots and Titans to win tomorrow. And if that happens, the Browns will have the number 1 pick in the draft.
Yeah, or even just one of them, which would put them in the sort of guaranteed quarterback situation, right? Right now, with the top 3 pick, they still theoretically could lose out on one of the quarterbacks if it is a 2-quarterback class, as people expect it to be, and they go 1-2. But if one of those teams wins, if New England or Tennessee wins a game, all of a sudden the Browns, stuck in this quarterback hell situation of a disastrous Deshaun Watson and his contract, would be picking with an opportunity of getting one of the top 2 quarterbacks in the draft.
From a game perspective, the Browns hung tough. I mean, they gave an early pick 6 by Nate Wiggins, kind of set the tone for the Ravens. But the Ravens offense only scored 14 points going into the fourth quarter. Then they started to pull away. Derrick Henry ends up with 2 touchdowns on 138 yards. Lamar Jackson, he had 2 passing touchdowns with his final case for the MVP, of course. Wasn't the best case, but the final stats are going to be outstanding. 2 more touchdowns, no interceptions. It's going to look good for the voters. And then Bailey Zappi and the few snaps of Dorian Thompson-Robinson, not great from a Browns perspective.
Yeah, not great. I mean, the Browns have been dead and buried for a while. Their defense did play tough for a while. Baltimore was just too good. The Ravens were just too good for the Browns multiple times, multiple areas across this game. Ended up being fairly comfortable. Lamar Jackson on plays made it look incredibly, incredibly easy. He's got that ability the same way peak Mahomes does, the same way peak Josh Allen does. I mean, Burrow had some plays like that in this game as well. It was a pretty strong, I think, MVP case, the final statement from both those guys, from Lamar and from Burrow.
Lamar's first touchdown, absolute dime to Mark Andrews in the red zone. And he finishes with 63 yards on the ground. The number of times where a play looks dead and all of a sudden Lamar snakes for 7, right? Weaves through the defense for 7 or 8 yards. Always amazing how efficient Lamar can be running the offense. And again, Derrick Henry finished with a big second half, 138 yards and 2 touchdowns. Fell short of his quest for 2,000. He needed, over 200 yards to get there, but another great season for Derrick Henry. So Ravens host the Steelers next week. And I'll say this. For Pittsburgh, who's reeling, and part of reeling was a loss in Baltimore a few weeks ago, Pittsburgh at least plays them well, right? So I think we'll see a competitive game.
The first game, we were saying, look, the Steelers defense does an amazing job making Lamar Jackson look mortal. The second game looked like the Ravens are legit, the Steelers are not. So, that's going to be the conversation in that game, right? Which version of that encounter do we get? Do we get a repeat of game 1 or a repeat of game 2?
Looking forward to tomorrow. Anything that obviously the big game, Sunday Night Football, Lions, Vikings, anything you want to touch on that? And obviously we previewed it, but we're going to be sitting here all day with that as the nightcap to, the game of the year here.
No, just the more that you talk about that game, you think it through, the better it ends up looking. And then the one element that we didn't really explore or forgot about until we were on VSiN this morning was because the Rams are sitting everybody, there's a pretty healthy chance that they are essentially voluntarily sacrificing that seed, dropping down a spot, and then would host the loser, the 14-win loser of that Vikings-Lions game.
We missed this. We apologize, and shout out to Tim Murray on VSiN. We were on with him this morning, and he brought this up. So the whole time, I've anticipated the NFC South champion to be the 4 seed.
Right.
If the Bucks win, which it looks like they're going to, the Saints aren't playing anybody. They're double-digit favorites. The Bucks win, Rams lose. Bucks move to the 3, Rams fall to the 4. Rams are sitting their players against Seattle. I'm repeating everything you're saying.
Right.
But if the Rams move to 4, like they are opting into the loser of Vikings-Lions, that is a wild decision, right? They're deciding we're okay with that versus staying healthy.
Most of the time, anybody resting players are doing so because they're already locked into wherever they're locked in. The Sean McVay Rams, again, are like pioneering rest is the most important thing. Remember, they were the team that started the whole, like, starters are not showing up for preseason. Forget a series, forget a half. They're not going to dress for preseason at all. They are volunteering to essentially not just drop a seed, drop a spot, but also opt in to a 14-win loser of this, encounter, like a team that was winning in for the 1 seed, showing up to their house, one of whom they've already played before, and beaten handily. Like, just a fascinating decision. Not one I would make, I don't think, if I was the Rams.
So that game's in the that's in the 4 o'clock window. The what else was I looking at here? Yeah, it really is interesting, and I missed that coming in. We missed that coming in, that the Rams had a chance to drop a seed there. So yeah, I'm looking forward to tomorrow. The 4 o'clock window, though, the final AFC playoff picture: Chiefs, Broncos, Dolphins, Jets. It is funny how much is riding on Carson Wentz and his Chiefs. Not just Wentz, but again, the rest of the big name starters are probably sitting. So Carson Wentz and all the backup pass catchers and some backup offensive linemen.
It's kind of a shame. Like, I mean, maybe Carson Wentz and the backups will surprise everybody, but this world where Cincinnati needed to win out, 5-game win streak, and then 6, 8, 10 other things had to go their way as well. All of them except this one thing might go their way, and the one thing is Carson Wentz and the backups.
And the other aspect of this, Tua, right? So again, on Thursday, we weren't really sure what we were going to get from Tua. It sounds like he's getting, just as bad from a hip perspective.
Right.
Probably going to get Snoop Huntley starting for the Dolphins. In the other injury news, Anthony Richardson's not going to start tomorrow for the Colts. The game doesn't matter, but we are closing in on injury proneness with Anthony Richardson for a fun offseason discussion there. So, anyway, shout out to everybody over here at Circa. It's been great. Tim Murray and VSiN earlier today.
Yeah.
Barry's Steakhouse last night taking care of us. Derek Stevens, the owner over here. We got history, Sam. I know him from way back from my minor league baseball days. He was the owner of the AAA team over here. He always takes care of us when we're over here. So we're having a great time and looking forward to all of tomorrow's action with all the games.
Yeah, this place is awesome, and we've only had the appetizer part of it. We haven't had the entree, which is tomorrow. It's going to be awesome.
And especially shout out to all of you and a lot of you that we've seen here, from the airport to various places around Circa. We've run into some listeners, viewers, some fans, and everything. So we appreciate the support. We appreciate everybody that we've met along the way here.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And shout out to Janko and Ben here. We were envisaging a little ghetto setup with a camera and,
this is good. This is really good.
We've got like a whole studio here, portable up on the balcony.
And Will tracking all of our moves over here. It's really great. Let me see. I got it. Yeah. So someone says I was going to go to Circa, but they said I was not allowed to rub Sam's head, so I thought there's no point. Who said no?
I didn't say that.
And the merch is going strong here. You brought all the No Shouty Show stuff, the hoodie, the T-shirt.
Yeah.
It's get the link in the description for the merch, everybody.
Absolutely.
All right, man. Anything else?
No, I think we've also, by the way, done a fine job of perspective work here. I don't look dramatically.
No, that's good. Wow.
You haven't been looming
really
your giant
well done.
hands.
He's slightly ahead of me. We were watching Charles Barkley on Jason Kelsey's show. It looked like a monster. And I don't appreciate all the bullying.
Right. You haven't been lobbing your giant hands towards the camera. That helps.
I just took a nice innocent picture yesterday, and everybody bullied me about how my hand looked in the picture. So now I'm very self-conscious about what to do with my hands, where to put them, and I don't want to take any more pictures.
I tweeted this, but I couldn't stop laughing at that picture. Your hand looks like, the best comment was the guy that said it looks like Carl Weathers' fake wooden hand from whatever that movie's called, Happy Gilmore.
Well,
it really does.
Don't check it out.
Yeah.
So, Anyway, we appreciate everybody for being here, for tuning in. Programming note is tomorrow. As soon as Lions-Vikings is over, we are recording live right here from Circa. So Monday morning show is actually Sunday night's show. We'll be going for the full 2.5 hours, whatever we do, recapping all the Week 18 action. So thanks to everybody for tuning in. We'll see you again tomorrow night with more Check the Mic.